The sun was shining brightly over Greenfield Zoo, where animals of all shapes and sizes lived in harmony. The sound of roaring lions mixed with the chatter of playful monkeys, creating a lively atmosphere that visitors loved. At the heart of the zoo was Emily, the head caretaker, known for her kindness and dedication. She loved starting her day by greeting all the animals, ensuring they were happy and well fed. "Good morning, Polly," Emily called to the zoo's famous parrot, perched proudly on his branch near the entrance. Polly usually greeted everyone with a cheerful hello. That made children giggle and adults smile. But today, Polly was silent. Emily tilted her head, puzzled. "That's odd," she muttered. "Polly never skips his morning greeting." Nearby families strolled through the zoo, pointing excitedly at the animals. A little boy stopped in front of Polly's cage, waved, and said, "Hello." But Polly just ruffled his feathers and turned away. Emily's concern deepened. Maybe he's just having a quiet day, she thought, though she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As she walked toward the elephant enclosure, she spotted Tom, her energetic assistant, hurrying toward her with a worried expression. "Emily, Max is acting strange. He hasn't touched his breakfast, and he's just staring at the water." Emily frowned. "First Polly, now Max. This is definitely not normal," she said. "Let's find out what's going on." Emily and Tom stood near the elephant enclosure, observing Max, the zoo's largest and friendliest elephant. Usually, Max greeted Emily with a loud trumpet sound and eagerly reached out his trunk for breakfast. But today, he just stood still, his eyes fixed on the water in his pool. "This isn't like him," Tom said, scratching his head. "I even tried giving him his favorite snack, but he wouldn't touch it." Emily leaned closer to Max, speaking softly. "Hey, Max, what's going on, big guy? Are you feeling okay?" Max glanced at her but didn't move. Emily's concern deepened. "First Polly and now Max," she said, turning to Tom. "Something strange is definitely happening." They decided to investigate further. Emily suggested checking on the other animals while Tom stayed to keep an eye on Max. As she walked away, her mind raced with questions. Were the animals sick? Was there something in the air or water? Emily headed toward the bird sanctuary, passing visitors who admired the flamingos and exotic parrots. She stopped in front of Polly's perch and noticed him pacing back and forth, occasionally fluffing his feathers. He looked restless, even upset. "Polly, what's wrong?" Emily asked gently. She tried using simple words she knew the parrot could understand. "Can you say something? Hello?" Polly squawked softly, but didn't respond with his usual cheerfulness. Emily sighed. Maybe it's the weather, she thought aloud, though the sunny skies made her doubt that theory. As she walked back to meet Tom, she noticed something else unusual. The penguins were gathered in one corner of their enclosure, not swimming or playing as they usually did. "Emily, over here," Tom called from the elephant enclosure. His voice sounded urgent. Emily hurried back, her heart pounding. "What is it?" she asked. Tom pointed at Max. "He keeps dipping his trunk into the water and pulling it out like he's testing something." Emily frowned. "We need to figure this out before it gets worse." Emily decided to start with Polly, the parrot who was usually the zoo's most talkative resident. She hoped that spending some time near him might reveal what was wrong. Polly perched silently, shifting on his branch as Emily approached. "Hey there, Polly," she said softly, leaning against the enclosure. "You're usually the one saying hello to everyone. What's going on today?" Polly tilted his head, his vibrant feathers shimmering in the sunlight. Emily decided to try something different. She knew that Polly often responded to simple questions, so she spoke in clear, slow English. "How are you, Polly? Are you okay?" The parrot fluffed his feathers and let out a low squawk, but still didn't answer. Visitors began to gather near the enclosure, watching curiously. A little girl in the crowd waved at Polly. "Say hello, Polly," she said, her voice full of hope. But Polly only shifted uncomfortably, looking down. Emily furrowed her brow. Polly loved attention, but today he seemed distracted. She tried again, this time using a phrase Polly often mimicked. "Can you say something, Polly? Can you say hello?" Polly let out a quiet, raspy sound. It wasn't his usual cheerful tone, but Emily heard something distinct. "Water, please." Emily's eyes widened. "Water? You're thirsty?" she asked, more to herself than Polly. Quickly, she grabbed a small bowl of fresh water from the nearby station and placed it in his enclosure. Polly hopped down from his branch immediately, dipping his beak into the water. He drank eagerly, then looked up at Emily and squawked, this time more confidently, "Hello." The crowd clapped and cheered. Emily smiled with relief. "So you were just thirsty all along. Why didn't I think of that sooner?" Her thoughts drifted back to Max, the elephant. If Polly had been thirsty, could Max be experiencing the same thing? Emily hurried back toward Tom, hoping she might have found the key to solving the mystery. Emily rushed back to the elephant enclosure, where Tom was still standing near Max, scratching his head in frustration. Max hadn't moved much, and his eyes remained fixed on the water in his pool. "Tom," Emily said, catching her breath, "I think I figured out what's going on with Polly. He was thirsty, and he asked for water. Could Max be feeling the same way?" Tom glanced at the large, still elephant and shrugged. "I already gave him water earlier, but maybe it's not fresh enough for him." Emily walked closer to Max, speaking in a calm voice. "Hey, Max, can you show me what's wrong?" She watched as Max dipped his trunk into the water and pulled it out, repeating the motion. It seemed like he was trying to tell her something. Emily turned to Tom. "Let's drain the pool and refill it with fresh, clean water. If Polly was sensitive about his water, maybe Max is too." Tom nodded and quickly went to the control station to start the process. While the pool drained, Emily stayed with Max, stroking his side gently. "It's okay, big guy. We're fixing it," she said softly. When the fresh water began flowing into the pool, Max perked up, his large ears flapped, and he let out a low trumpet sound. Emily smiled. "I think we're on the right track." As the pool filled, Max stepped forward, dipping his trunk into the fresh water. He took a long drink, then splashed some playfully over his back. Finally, he let out a loud, happy trumpet, drawing cheers from the nearby visitors. Tom laughed. "Looks like he was just being picky about his water," Emily chuckled. "Or maybe he just knows what he likes." The two caretakers watched as Max splashed around joyfully in his pool. Emily felt a wave of relief. With Polly and Max both back to their usual selves, it seemed like the mystery was solved, or at least mostly. "Let's check on the other animals to make sure everything is okay," Emily said. "If water was the issue, we might need to double-check everyone else's enclosures." With Max happily splashing in his refreshed pool, Emily and Tom decided to inspect the other enclosures. They walked toward the penguin exhibit, where the animals had been unusually still earlier. Sure enough, the penguins were gathered in one corner, avoiding their pool. Emily crouched near the water. "It looks a little cloudy," she observed. "Maybe they're avoiding it for the same reason Max was acting up." Tom nodded and quickly activated the filtration system. As the water cleared and freshened, the penguins hesitantly waddled closer. One brave penguin slid into the water, splashing playfully. The others soon followed, chirping happily. "That's better," Emily said with a satisfied smile. "Looks like water quality really was the issue." Returning to Polly, they found the parrot preening contentedly, his feathers vibrant and smooth. He greeted them with a cheerful hello as they approached, much to the delight of nearby visitors. "It's amazing how something so simple could cause so much trouble," Tom said, shaking his head. Emily nodded. "It's a good reminder that we have to pay attention to the little details. The animals may not speak our language, but they have their ways of telling us what they need." With the animals now happy and healthy, Emily and Tom shared a relieved laugh. As they walked toward the main entrance, Polly's cheerful hello rang out again, signaling the end of a successful and fulfilling day. As the day wound down, Emily and Tom gathered near Polly's enclosure to reflect on what they had learned. Polly chirped happily from his perch, now back to his vibrant, talkative self. "Today was a great reminder of how important it is to listen carefully," Emily said. "Even though the animals don't speak our language, they use their actions to communicate, and we use simple English to figure out what they needed." Tom nodded. "I was surprised how much easier it was to get answers when we asked simple questions. Like when you said, 'Can you say something?' to Polly, or when I asked Max, 'Do you want water?' Those phrases really worked." Emily turned toward the camera and smiled. "Let's review what we learned today. First, we used questions to understand the animal's needs. For example, 'How are you?' is a great way to start a conversation. 'Can you say something?' helps when you want someone to respond. And 'Do you want water?' or 'Are you hungry?' are useful for finding out what someone needs." Tom added, "We also learned some new vocabulary like thirsty, hungry, and even happy. These words help us talk about feelings and needs." Emily nodded encouragingly. "Remember, you can use these words and questions in your everyday life too. Practice them often, and you'll be speaking English more confidently in no time." Polly squawked a loud, cheerful "Goodbye" as Emily waved to the audience. "See you next time for more adventures and more English."